Welcome back to the Mackem in the Middle podcast after another league game, another game that was televised live on Sky away to Sheffield United on Wednesday evening, a game that did end in a 2-1 defeat, which was only Alex Neil's second defeat since he was appointed manager over 20 games ago. And very shortly, we'll obviously get into everything that happened during the game, the big decisions, the goals, and of course, what happens between now and the end of the transfer window, really. So first and foremost, Michael, did end in defeat, but as we'll get into, plenty of positives to take from it again.
Yeah, well, as I said to you before we started recording, and I said for context, I wanted to look at Sheffield United's home form across 2022, and I've looked that if you including the first leg defeat of the playoff semi-final to Nottingham Forest at the end of last season, they've only conceded 7 goals at Bramall Lane this year, which I think suggests how difficult a place it probably will be to come. And if their players apply themselves, they should be at minimum be in the top 6, arguably pushing for first and second. So that was before even the red card happened. It was always going to be a very difficult test. It was by far going to be our hardest one of the season, and I think you're right. There are lots of positives from that. I didn't expect anything from the game, and I certainly didn't expect it once we went down to 10 men. But to show the character to stay in the game and to potentially possibly nick something at the end. Is palpable. Look, they had a lot more shots and obviously many and more on target and possession than we did, but that's going to happen. That was probably going to happen even with 11v11. But there's an argument that for the first 30 minutes, 11v11, we could get something out of that game, and there'll be better teams than us that will get beat at Sheffield United this season. Yeah,
and obviously the Sheffield United squad in general, John, a lot of them players were playing Premier League football 2 years ago. Some of them have been linked with moves to Premier League clubs this season. Obviously, Sander Berg, who I thought was one of the best players on the pitch yesterday, he has been linked with a move to Liverpool. No surprise there, really. So to be able to go toe-to-toe with one of the teams like that, bearing in mind we had 10 men for, 65 minutes of that game, just shows this season could go a lot better than people possibly expected it to, as we got promoted.
Yeah, definitely. It was, like you say, it was two very good teams. And if you obviously we know how it went on after Neil was sent off, but before that, you're probably looking at both teams and thinking, yeah, they're both of sort of similar ilk. That although they've been in the Premier League and we've been in League One, but it's nice to see us. That now we are promoted, going toe to toe with these players. Like you say, they were playing Premier League, and we weren't. But it's refreshing that we can get there, and I think now I think it has shown maybe the club upstairs that maybe we need to. Personally, I think invest a little bit more, and if we can do that and add it to these players that we've got now who seem to have made the step up, then that bodes well for a very good season. Players that you probably thought we're not gonna be involved at all, even though it was sort of albeit small margins. But Trey Hume came on, did okay. I know Jack Diamond only got 5 minutes, but still looked and ran them a little bit. We've got a very good squad here, and going up against a team like Michael said, who should, in theory, I thought they were very good, even though we still went toe to toe with them. For sort of most of the game, they should be sort of first or second. So to go up with them and to go toe to toe, albeit the red card that we'll come on to, was definitely pleasing.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen it in I think that's 4 games into the season now, Michael. We've obviously won 1, drawn 2, lost 1. Everyone would have liked us to have, probably won at least 3 of them, and I think we probably should have. Coventry game was obviously a close game. It was a good goal that we conceded. The QPR one, I think you look back at and think, 2-0 up with what was, I think, 5 minutes of regular time left, a bit more depth, players to come on and impact the game. We see that game out. And again, Sheffield United, just a bit more
Nearly
depth.
said Wednesday there, didn't you?
Nearly said Wednesday, yeah. We played on Wednesday. That counts for anything.
That's half a point then.
So the starting 11 that we have can achieve a lot this season, I think. And I think we've seen that in the first 4 games. But again, we keep saying the same thing, and we're probably going to keep saying it for the next 13 days, I think it is. we need depth and we need it desperately.
That we do. As everyone in the group chat's probably sick of me saying by now, I've said that I think I'm judging the window when it's finished and not 2 weeks beforehand. But that doesn't change the fact we need depth, because now we've lost Dan Neil, I think, for at least a game or two, depending on how the severity of the offence is judged. Then you've got Corey Evans, who potentially looks like he's going to be injured for a little bit. Carl Winchester's injured. Dan Ballard's injured, so that alone should suggest that we need more signings, which it's abundantly clear. It's absolutely abundantly clear. So for me, I don't know. I think we've to quote Alex Neil, we've knocked on the door so many times that we can't knock anymore. I don't know what more to say on that. We need. I do believe we will get the players in, but it would be preferable if it's sooner rather than later. And I don't know. It just depends if we're trying to wait to get Premier League players, because the Premier League players that we're looking for can't go until those clubs in question get their targets. But again, the longer you wait, the more you've got to do going into deadline day, which is not a position we'd prefer to be in.
Yeah. Well, in the game and before the red card, John, Sunderland were probably far and away the better team. They looked dangerous going forward, pretty solid defensively, and they moved the ball well. Like I said, the first 30 minutes, Sunderland looked more likely the team to finish in the top 5 this season.
Yeah, so as I said before, it was two very good teams sort of going toe to toe, and you'd probably say on balance we maybe had it, a little bit more of the edge. I'm sure we'll come on to the red card, but it's sort of a bit of, it's obviously a mistake, and then sort of a double mistake with the pull. But before that, Sims and Stewart will cause anyone problems in this league. It doesn't matter who we are. And for every game I've watched quite a few championship games that haven't even involved us, and I'm not really too worried about, about anyone coming and sort of wiping the floor with us. At the moment, I think we can go. We shouldn't fear anybody. I think we can go to places and do jobs, and teams will not want to come and play at the Stadium of Light either. So again, it was probably going back to the recruitment thing again. We need reinforcements so we can get those points early on the board, and give ourselves the best platform to have a real good go at this season.
Yeah. And obviously the game did change though, Michael, when the red card came. I know you did question it a little bit at the time, but I think that's more down to the fact that I don't think the rules are particularly clear at the moment with, last man, etc., etc. But in terms of why he gets sent off is because if he doesn't make the foul, I don't think anyone can doubt that. I think it was McCarthy or however you say his name.
He's at least getting a good effort on goal, isn't he?
He's going to get a shot. It's a goal scoring opportunity, and that classifies as a red card. So taking that into consideration, there's no question about it, really, is there?
No, like at the time in the stadium, I said to my friend next to me, clear red card. Even before it was brandished, I said no complaints. The reason I questioned it was because, again, like you said, the rule is not clear on how influential the last man argument actually is. So I'll make this clear. If last man is secondary to denying a goal scoring opportunity or isn't involved in the decision-making process to brand out a red card, then it's a straight red. I've got absolutely no complaint. The FA or whoever decides this needs to make the rules undoubtedly clear as to what constitutes a decision like that. But nevertheless, so we'll say for argument's sake, yes, it is a red card. I've got no complaints with that. If that was the other way around, we're screaming for that to be given. But it's just got. I mean, the only thing I would, maybe it's me being hypercritical. Feel free to correct me. I think that maybe Dan Neil maybe the pass isn't great from Bart, but I think that he maybe just needs to pass it back to Patterson and just so he can try and clear it. But again, that's me being revisionist and saying with hindsight. But obviously, as you said, up until that point, we looked all right, looked comfortable. And then once that happens, it just changes the complexion of the game. And to be fair to Sheffield United, they took advantage of it.
Yeah. And obviously, it was a mistake from Dan Neil, John. Anyone will say that. He'll say it himself. And I think Alex Neil said it as well. But, you can look back at it and think, he's got to play that first time to Patterson, get it up the pitch or whatever. But what he's actually trying to do probably isn't the worst thing to do. It's just unfortunate. I think the ball bounces up off the floor, hits his right knee, and then obviously it cuts across him, and then he ends up having to bring the man down. It's a mistake. He'll learn from it. But, as we've said in the group chat, as other people have said on Twitter, it's nothing more than a mistake, and some of the reaction from it was
Some of the
slightly
reaction's been stupid.
exaggerated.
I'm
Yeah.
just put that in there.
Yeah, obviously I won't, I'm speaking for myself, I won't have a bad word said against Dan Neil, and anyone who does, I'll fault them any day. But yeah,
You're backing yourself to win, John?
Yeah, against anyone, I'll protect Dan Neil till the day I die, and probably even after that. But yeah, turning there is obviously it's nicked up, and it is just a mistake. I think more, you can live with those mistakes maybe, but you should be flicking it inside to Patterson, because he should see there's plenty of space. And obviously Luco Nine's obviously pulled out wide because he knows, or he thinks Patterson's just going to receive the ball, we knock it out wide, and that's how we play. It's maybe just a little bit of naivety that we've seen this season from the team, just to do the basic things really well. Obviously, that said, I think the real mistake is pulling the kid down, because you've got to accept, or you've got to at least put a little bit of faith in Patterson that he's going to be quicker out of his box, which he was a couple of times. You've got to put a bit of faith in him.
I think it's one of them things as well. If that was 50 minutes later in the game and the score's level, then you're probably saying, yeah, take the foul. And I think that's one of the things that just comes with experience, knowing when to take the foul, when to maybe risk it and see if Patterson can make the save. If he doesn't, we go 1-0 down, but it's 11v11. But I suppose that's just one of the things that comes with experience.
Yeah, exactly. It does, and he knows straight away. As soon as he did it, he knows straight away. He looked up, and I'm sure he said like shit, straight away. And then obviously the red card. There wasn't really any real surprise, but the real mistake for me was obviously pulling him back, because I still think, even if they'd have gone through and scored, you could say that they'd have scored. If they did, then you want to play 11v11. I would still back you and back yourself to still be in the game. To be fair, we did score. If we limit them to not scoring, and then we still do with Gooch, and we've still got two strikers on the pitch as well, who do cause problems, you've got to back yourself. So again, it's almost a little bit of naivety, but it's one of them. It's happened. It's a thing that we need to learn, and we need to learn very quickly, because obviously once Dan Neil's back from suspension, you would have thought he does then slot back in, because Empton isn't really a central midfielder. We've got injuries to Evans and Winchester. Are we going to sign a central midfielder? Who knows? So it's one of those things, and I'm sure they'll sit down with him and say, look, what could you do better there? You're naive in probably the second one, not the first one. The first one can happen to anybody, but we've got to learn, and we've got to move on, and we've got to cut those out. Because if we cut those out, then games are there for the taking for us. Doesn't matter who we're playing.
Yeah, and obviously that red card does mean that Dan Neil will miss the next game, Michael, which is obviously Stoke away on Saturday. I did have to double check it, which I've just done there, and I'm fairly sure it is just one game because of the laws. I think it's a professional foul or denial of a goal scoring opportunity that ends in a red card is just a 1-game ban. A bad tackle, studs up, whatever, is a 2-game, and then violent conduct is a 3-game, as mentioned in the Liverpool game. Obviously, Nunes headbutting someone, so that was the 3-game ban. But even just the 1 game that he's missing for, Corey Evans might be back. I'm not sure. I don't think anything's been said on that. But that just leaves us with Matete as the only centre midfielder, really. Winchester's injured, O'Nien's currently playing at the back because our defenders are injured. Again, it just goes back to the whole squad depth thing, that injuries will ruin us this season.
It will if we don't address them, and address them quite sufficiently in the next 2 weeks. But you're right. I mean, it depends. If Corey Evans is back, then I think we can manage without Daniel if it is 1 game, then I think we can manage without Daniel for 1 game. But the problem is, in that time, you could have 2 more players pull up with hamstring injuries or something, and then they're out for a longer period of time, and then it reinforces the point about squad depth and needing to bring players in even more than it already is, and it's quite important as it is right now. So it just sends the message to Speakman. Again, Speakman is someone that I feel I've justifiably defended quite strongly, but this is where he's really going to have to earn his money over the next 2 weeks. And, and bearing in mind, like I said on previous podcasts as well, we're going to have a game that's only our first midweek game of the season. We've got another one in less than 2 weeks against Rotherham. Then you've got another one a couple of weeks after that against Reading. I think you've got something like 2 or 3 midweek games in October, and you've got another one in November, but that's before the World Cup
Middlesbrough's well on a Monday as well.
Sorry?
But Middlesbrough on a Monday as well.
That is true. Well, in some ways, that's probably beneficial because you've got Norwich on the Saturday, Watford on the not Watford, Rotherham on the Wednesday, and then 5 days later you play Borough. So it's at least a bit more of a gap. But I still get your point. We're going to have a lot of games all over the place, and this is where we need to get players and we need to get them in quickly.
Yeah. Well, after the red card, it didn't take long for Sheffield United to get their first goal, John. It was a corner. People questioned Anthony Patterson for a little bit, whether he could have come and collected the cross. I think it was kind of just outside the 6-yard box where the ball fell. And I'm not going to try and pronounce his name like I didn't in the preview pod, but their Bosnian centre-back won the header, unmarked, free header. Again, just one of them goals that you look at and think, can we do a little bit better with?
Yeah, of course we can. You know, to be fair, I did see a lot of people sort of, you know, criticising Patterson. You know, if you look, that box is so congested. And to be fair, Sheffield United got a few big lads in, and not to mention our ones as well. You know, and he's got to go over the top.
I think as well, not just to interrupt you quickly there, I think some of the stuff that will probably have been going through Patterson's head there as well is obviously the QPR game only a few days ago. The winning goal came from him trying to get the cross. He didn't quite get there. And had he stayed in his goal, he probably would have saved that. So I think that probably played a part in his decision making there as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I just think, you know, the point maybe was like, I think it's a little bit critical to ask him to come out and win that in those group of players. I think the real questions have got to be, it doesn't matter who's marking him. I think it was Sirkin, who's, to be fair, really, really good in the air, and was in a good starting position. How the guys managed to get a free header sort of almost in the 6-yard box. I think that's, you know, that's the questions that should be asking. And I'm sure Neil is, you know, the first one to be asking that question. I don't really have any criticism on Patterson, you know, and it's ultimately it's a shit time to concede, you know, because after Neil gets sent off, you'd think, right, let's just get to half time, we'll regroup, you know, because we did see, you know, for the rest of the game, we saw that we are you know, a very steely side who can, you know, not only did we hold our own, but we probably had, you know, some real good spells in the game as well. So, you know, it was a crap time to concede, but again, you know, it's the one little mistake you can make and you're punished. That is how it goes. You know, League One, you maybe get away with it, but you know, we've got to learn and we've got to learn quickly.
Yeah, and obviously, Michael, the one thing that I think a lot of people take from the game is the timing of the goals that we conceded. Obviously, one just before half time, and obviously the second one, which we're on to now. I think it was a minute 40 seconds into the second half. It was a good goal. You know, I think Sheffield United moved the ball well. It was one pass through the middle. I can't remember who it was, but he's missed the ball. It went through to, again, that Bosnian centre back that I'm not going to try and pronounce. It's a simple ball in the box, and I think it was Maximo who tapped it in. So in terms of the goal, I don't think it was, you know, a mistake or lack of judgment or whatever. It was, you know, a good goal, championship standard goal, and that's why Sheffield United will be up there come the end of the season. But just the timing of it, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's right. Again, the first one's right after the red card, pretty much. It's like 2 minutes after the red, and then obviously the second one is 2 minutes after half time. So it's not particularly ideal because then that was the thing. I always said that as long as possible, keep yourselves in the game. Don't concede a second, and you might get a chance on the breakaway. But obviously the second one goes in, and then from there it looked a real uphill task. And that's not through a lack of effort. It's just how it is. Everything. You know, Sheffield United's crowds on the is with the team. Again, a team that's barely conceded, let alone they've only lost 2 games at home this calendar year. So, and barely concede any goals. So it's very difficult from there. And that's with 11 men, let alone 10. But we did well to get into it. But who's to say if we kept it at 1-0 and we equalised that Sorry, I've just done your mistake there. Sheffield United don't break away and score more. It's just it is unfortunate, but you know, I'm not going to be too harsh on the lads because again, it was a game where literally almost everything it felt like was going against us.
Yeah. After the second goal, John, we made changes. Obviously, Matete, Trey Hume, and Benny Wright, I think, with the trio of subs that came on pretty soon after the second goal conceded. And obviously, we'll get on to the goal that we did end up scoring. But I thought the one player that came on and actually had an impact on the game looked bright and it certainly looked like he can play a part this season, which a lot of people didn't think you could. A few people were saying he should be loaned down to League One, getting regular football. But Jay Matete, like I said, he was one of the players that came on. He had a good game when he came on.
Yeah, he had a very good game, to be fair. And, we can go back to the, I can actually name them now, Sheffield Wednesday game, when players played and Neil sort of bemoans, the lack of people stepping up when they get their opportunity. And that's what you want. You want players coming into the team and actually making a difference and proving a point. And now you'd probably say, yes, we got injuries. But, the pressing, especially away from home, which is a good thing because you'd expect the home team to have a lot of possession, when we go to Stoke the weekend. He's the type of player you're going to want in there, and if he's fired up and and how well he played with his high pressing, we can nick the ball back, and with players like Pritchard, and obviously the two strikers and the attacking on the wing, he's an ideal player just to slot in. Obviously he's the one who starts the goal. I thought at times our pressing wasn't that good, before Matete come on, and they were sort of able to zip it into the midfielders quite easily and ping it out wide. Obviously, we were down to 10 men, but the goal ultimately comes from his pressing of picking off their midfielder, and that's how the chance is created. And if you watch, even teams like Man City, that is what their game is massively built on, is the other teams have possession, pick them off quickly and hit them on the break as quick as you can without giving them time to think. And those are the types of things I think that we do work on, and we should be getting those players in who can do that. But I think, like I said, with injuries, I think Matete does probably play himself into the starting lineup for the weekend.
Yeah. On the Sunderland goal, and Michael, like John said there, did originally come from, I think it was Sheffield United possession at the back. It was John Egan who had the ball, obviously former Sunderland academy player, I think he was. He's played the ball in the middle, Jay Matete, as he does. He's very quick to the ball, interceptor, and Sunderland break, which I think is something that Sunderland, especially recently, haven't done overly well. We seem to kind of just kind of dawdle on the ball a little bit when we go forward, stop the attack, defenders get back in position, and we kind of end up in the same position as we were before. But we broke forward quickly, the ball falls to Stewart, he plays it through to Gooch, and it's a top finish from Gooch. And I think I can't remember who was put it in the group chat, but that's his first goal since the season before
April
last,
2021.
I think.
Yeah, that was, I think it was on the ITV highlights thing. I think I heard that somewhere. But yeah, it's a shame Kyle's not on here because I'm sure he would have gone ballistic with this. Obviously, given how much I know he loves Gooch, but it was a cracking finish to be
Lyndon
fair.
Gooch, that is, I'll just add.
Sorry?
Lyndon Gooch, I'll add.
Yeah.
Take that out of context, that.
But yeah, I think the thing is with Gooch's finish, it's one where he probably hasn't got that much time to think because the keeper's coming out and he chips it. But so to be fair, given that it's instinctive, he chips in and it's a cracking finish. It really is. The run's great, the timing of it's great, and Stewart obviously does well to get the vision to feed Gooch through. Wouldn't say 1-on-1, but you know what I mean. It's running through on goal. And at that point, I had a slight hope we could get back into the game. Wasn't meant to be, but I think that'll do Gooch a bit of confidence. He has got, whatever my criticisms of him, he has got the pace to stretch teams, and if he's able to do that consistently enough, he should be able to get more chances, hopefully.
Yeah. And obviously, after that goal, John, at 2-0 down, it's quite easy for a team, especially away from home, down to 10 men, just to kind of sit back and just kind of accept the 2-0 defeat, try and stop them from scoring, keep the goal difference down, and just move on to the next game. But we scored that goal, and we generally looked like we could have went on to get something from the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as soon as the first, the first goal goes in, it's about can we keep it tight? Can we stay in the game? Don't concede at stupid times. We get to half time and I'm thinking, right, just give it 10 minutes, stay in the game. They'll get edgy, break up the play a little bit. Obviously they scored their second goal at, what you'd call the worst time. But to be fair, the mentality of the team, we did really well. Like I said, we had really good spells. I think there was a spell we kept the ball for about 20 passes, and against 10 men who were against 11 men, sorry, who were quite, they did like to press us quite high. I thought we did really well considering the players, we're missing who, Winchester's good on the ball, Evans, obviously Neil wasn't in there, Pritchard had come off, so to keep, we had sort of Luke O'Nien zipping the ball around and those types of things. So the squad we've got is, it is boding well, and it will give them confidence. And like you say, we we easily could have nicked something. I think there was one time where we had the ball in the box and there was 3 at the back post, and we chose to sort of zip it in to the front post. So, you know, you can see Stuart's reaction is sort of fuming, as if he knew, like, because the ball didn't come, you know, we didn't score. But it's a weird one that, you know, you lose the game, but we're almost sort of, I wouldn't say full of confidence, but you're sort of thinking, yeah, I can see what the plan is. And, you know, if we had 11 men, we know it would have, I think it would have been a different story. And, you know, Neil can say to them, well, look how we did with 10 men. Think what we could do with 11. Let's cut out them stupid mistakes. And, you know, we'll be absolutely fine this season.
Yeah. And so one word that John used there, Michael, his character, Lyndon Gooch said after the game, it is something that has improved massively since Alex Neil came in. You know, they've got players that potentially in previous seasons wouldn't, you know, match the expectations in a game like that. Would possibly, like I say, sulk a little bit, accept that might not get anything out of this game, and just kind of ghost the game. But under Alex Neil, there's not one player in the squad that seems to do that. Everyone wants to work as hard as they can for him. And again, you know, bringing players in, there's just no limit on what Alex Neil could achieve with Sunderland if we keep him happy, if we get what he needs, and providing people stay fit as well.
Exactly. Obviously it depends on a few things, but you're right. If you look like you both said, imagine what you could do with 11 men in a game, and that again, like I keep repeatedly saying, that's a team that's going to be at least in the top 6, and has got the players to be arguably pushing for first and second. So I think, you know, we showed tremendous character to stay in the game. Yes, obviously we had to ride our luck a little bit with Patterson making a couple of key saves. I think they hit the post, or hit the bar, and so it just goes to prove that. And I suppose this is the frustration with the ownership, that, you know, look at what he's doing now with the squad he's got currently. If you could go out and get a couple of really good players, that, tell you what, put it this way, you get a couple of really, really excellent players, and I mean really good players, which we should be able to get in this league, then I think Neil Warnock's insistence about us possibly making top 6 isn't as far-fetched, even though I still don't think it'll happen. But it just goes to prove it could be limitless with Alex Neil. We've got a great asset there. So we've just got to make sure we get everything right. But you're right, the character is commendable. I mean, look at the amount of late goals we scored last year to get promoted, including going to Hillsborough in the second leg, winning at Wembley. Yeah, okay, there's a couple of setbacks we've had this year, but staying in the game in the most difficult of circumstances, you know, we just need to give ourselves the best possible chance, and hopefully we have done that by the end of the window.
Yeah. Well, so it did finish 2-1, so that is Sunderland's first defeat of the season. Stoke away on Saturday, and then I think we have a week off until the Norwich game, I believe.
Yes, we do.
Which is very annoyingly so a 12:30 kick-off at home on a Saturday, which I absolutely hate about football, but it is what it is. Another game on Sky. But before we wrap it up, we'll do player ratings, as we always do, and we'll start with Patterson with you, Michael. Obviously made some big saves at the end of the game. Could have easily been, you know, 4-5, maybe 6-1 without them. You can question him for the first goal, but certainly made up for it.
Maybe this is me just being a goalkeepers union here, and I think for me, I don't put blame on Patterson for the first goal. Like John said earlier, I think you've got to look at how the Bosnian centre-back, I'm just going to go with what you said because I'm not going to pronounce the name, I'm going to get it wrong. How he gets a free header, I think it's more down to the marking than anything else. And without him, I think we could have lost by more. So actually, I'm going to go with a strong 8. I think he made some really one save. I think at least one shot he tipped onto the bar. I might be wrong with that. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But he made some really, really crucial saves to keep the score down.
Yeah. And John, for you?
Yeah, I'd probably go for 7. Agree with everything Michael said. I thought he was solid and you know, continues to grow. I know he's a quiet lad. I'd like to see him, you know, barking his balls off at the defenders a little bit more, but you know, his performance, nothing wrong with it for me.
Yeah. Lyndon Gooch obviously started the game as a right wing back, as he seems to be deployed in most games now, and moved further forward as we kind of changed shape, went down to 10 men, and he was kind of playing as a right-sided midfielder with Hume just behind him. Again, another good performance from him, and I think he's proven a few of his doubters wrong in the Championship this season. A few people didn't think he'd be a starter. A few people didn't want him to be a starter, certainly, but in the games that he's played, Michael, he's certainly lived up to it.
My mind went blank there. Is that 09 you've just said?
Lyndon Gooch.
Lyndon Gooch, okay, that shows how much I was listening there, doesn't it? Lyndon Gooch, yeah, to be fair to him, I've defended him when he plays as a wing back, or as a full back. I still don't think he's quite good enough to be a winger. I know Daniel and Kyle probably aren't going to have that, but for me, I think he's much better as a fullback or a wing back, and I think his defensive work was good. And yes, there's a couple of hairy moments, but I think in general, defensively, he's looked fairly solid and took his goal really well last night. So as for last night, did as well as he could under the circumstances. So, but I'll just give him a 7 because he scored.
Yeah, and John, for you?
Yeah, I'll give him a 7. I thought he was very good again. He did a bit of the dirty work as well. Sort of worked his backside off. I think his wing play is actually getting a lot better. It's more, can I beat the man, and as opposed to can I take on 12 men and go back and do it again. So it was very direct, and I think someone deserved to be on the end of the cross that he put in the first half, which Sims and Stewart should be all over that. But yeah, I was very impressed as well with his performance, and obviously captain for the night.
Yeah. Luke O'Nien obviously stepping in for the injured Ballard in defence, and again, similar to Gucci, did move into midfield later on in the second half. And again, I don't think he did too much wrong. One thing that I will mention, though, which I think we did kind of forget to talk about, he definitely escaped a red card in that game, Michael.
Yes, he definitely did. I think that I was going to go with a 7, but I think I'm going to bump him down to a 6 just for that, because that was a bit reckless, and it's something that he does admittedly need to work on, because if he keeps on trying to do that, he's going to get red cards sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Again, John, I think had he been sent off, there'd certainly be no questions about it. I think the first time I saw it, I thought it was actually a good tackle, and I was a bit surprised that he gave a free kick. But you watch the replay back, he went straight down the back of his calf, got no the ball. Again, if that's happened against us, you're asking why that's not a red card.
Yeah, I'll probably go with a 6. I thought he was relatively solid and played the ball around quite well. But yeah, the tackle, I think he does actually try and go for the ball. Obviously, he's off the floor a bit, but he tries to go for the ball, and I think the bloke just sort of almost turns a little bit, and that's how he catches him. He's obviously off the floor, and to be fair, he does catch him, so it is in theory, reckless and a red card. But he's got to watch that, because obviously someone's only got to point it out to the referee, or it will be highlighted by the referees. And then it's almost his card's marked. First tackle, players are going to be in.
It was very similar to Max Powell, wasn't it, in the first season? Yeah,
exactly. They're going to be straight on him, so he obviously needs to watch that. But when he gets the tackles right, nothing wrong with him at all.
Yeah. Danny Bart played in the centre of defence again, and another injury potentially. He did go off it later on in the second half. Hopefully it's nothing too severe. I don't think it is, and probably just a kind of precautionary change as well as a potential tactical one from Alex Neil as well. But caught out a few times, I think, Michael, but overall don't think he did anything particularly wrong that led to a chance for Sheffield United.
I agree. He didn't. Yeah, again, I think it's one of those where Sheffield United's got a very quick forward line, and that's probably what caught him out a little bit. So again, I'd probably go similar to Luke O'Nien. I'd go with a 6. I think when you get to consider what quality they have, the pace that their players they've got, I think he was bound to have a bit of a tougher night on it. But as you said, fingers crossed. I think it was a groin problem. I think it was that he had.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's not too severe, and he'll be back for the weekend.
Yeah, we will see soon enough. John, for you?
Yeah, I'll probably go with a 7. I thought it was solid enough. I'd like to see him maybe a little bit more commanding when the first cross comes in for their goal. I've seen him in real life, and he is massive. You'd expect him to win every header. Obviously, can't do it all, but I thought maybe he was caught a little bit flat-footed for the goal. But I'm probably, again, they break so quickly. I'm probably being a bit super critical there, but it's a solid enough performance. I think it was just a tight. I think it was a tight groin. So they just took him off as a precaution for. Hopefully, you would have thought he'd be fine for Stoke then.
Yeah, that's where we signed him from as well, wasn't it, Stoke?
Yeah, funny enough, Danny Bart. Okay, well, 1-0 Saturday, Danny Bart.
Yeah. Not that it means anything, but Jay Matete actually signed for Stoke when I played Football Manager recently. He went on to play Premier League football with them. So whether that's an omen or not, I'm not sure. But Dennis Serkin, the other side of the back three to O'Nien. And again, as he usually is, to be fair, fairly solid. He doesn't have that, towering presence that you potentially want in a centre half. And I think he was near the, again, Bosnian centre back for the opening goal. but I don't think he did anything wrong, Michael.
Nor did I. I think again, defense. I thought some of his positioning in the first half, I thought was actually improved as the half wore on. Funnily enough, and I think that when we could have the opportunity to get forward, I thought he got a couple of decent lob balls, lob balls, just trying to clear it and get it towards Stewart and whatnot. And I think across the game, I thought, considering the circumstance, I thought he did well. Maybe I'm being generous, but I think I'm going to go with a 7 for him.
Yeah, John.
I'll probably go with a 7. You know, he did lose his man for the goal, but I thought the rest of his game, to be fair, was very good and very, very solid.
Yeah. Left side to him, obviously Jack Clark again playing as that left wing back, carried the ball forward quite well. Looked dangerous when he was on the ball. Fairly standard performance from Clark again, I would say, Michael.
I'm going to get tired. I'm going to get sick of the number 7 after this podcast. I would go with the 7. I think especially when it was 11v11, I thought there was a couple of times he burst down the left wing, and I think you could tell that I thought he had their players on toast a couple of times. And later on, particularly in the second half before he went off, like I keep repeating, because we're down to 10 men, the creativity is going to be a bit limited because we're trying to stay in the game. But there was a couple of times where he beat his men, two or three occasions, and had there been more options around him or more opportunities to put a cross in the box, I wouldn't have bet against him getting an assist. So carried the ball really, really well, especially considering the circumstances.
Yeah, Jack Clark for you, John.
I'll probably go over 6. I thought some of it just didn't come off. I don't think we used him probably as much as we should. I'd like to see us just get the ball to him, a lot more, because 1-on-1 and even 1v2, he's still a very, very good player. But sometimes maybe I just expect a bit more. But obviously he's not going to have a lot of the ball if we're down to 10 men. So I'm probably being a little bit critical. But I just, I think he's that good at times. I just want to see a bit more from him.
Yeah. Dan Neil, I think this one's fairly straightforward, to be fair, Michael. First 30 minutes he was good, but then obviously it's a mistake from Neil that arguably costs Sunderland the game. That's probably a little bit harsh to say that, but obviously swung the momentum in favour of Sheffield United. Obviously they scored just a few minutes later.
Yeah, I'll probably have to go maybe with a 4 just because of how much that red card, he would argue, did cost us. But the first 30 minutes, I agree, I thought he looked really bright, but I just can't get away from the fact that ultimately that was the turning point in the game.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, same. I'll go over 4, even though it kills me. But the mistakes we've obviously gone through. But yeah, before that, he was looking probably every bit the player that we've wanted him to be, this season. So, learn from it, come back stronger, and take us to the Premier League.
Yeah. Alongside him was obviously Embleton. He's been on the bench for all of the 3 league games, I think. Could be wrong on that, but I think he's started as a sub in them. Obviously playing a little bit further back to what he usually does. He's usually an attacking midfielder. He dropped into that kind of centre midfield role where, well, obviously Evans would usually play, and I think he had more of an impact on the game than he has in the previous few games that he's came on for, Michael.
Yeah, it's funny one because with the debate with Embleton is whether he's better in a deeper holding role or he's better as a number 10. I think I'd probably go with a solid 6. I thought he recycled the ball really, really well. I think a lot of the times the play from the centre of the park was coming through him, and obviously he would have done even more after the sending off. So yeah, just steady performance. Didn't do anything spectacular, but again, I think in the circumstances, I think he did well enough, recycled it well. So I'd go with a 6.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, same. I'll probably go over 6. Again, maybe someone I want to see a little bit more from, but probably playing out of position. So we'll maybe give him that. But yeah, 6 for me.
In front of Neil and Embleton was, of course, Alex Pritchard once again. Don't think had too much of an impact on the game, as in comparison to the other games that he has played in. But when he had the ball, definitely showed his quality. A few nice touches, a few passes here and there. But obviously, he did come off as a sub when we did change shape in the second half. You could argue had he stayed on the pitch, we might have had a better chance of getting something from the game. But obviously, hindsight is a wonderful thing, Michael.
I'm just trying to think because I'm debating between a 5 or a 6 here. I'd probably go maybe just a generous 6, but I think that's probably pushing it. But only because I know Pritchard's capable of a lot better than that.
Yeah. That is fair enough, John.
I'll probably go over 6. His touch seemed to be a tiny bit off, but most of the stuff he did do in his pressing was very good. And obviously we changed shape that he didn't really fit into when, sort of on the 65-minute mark, and it was nice to see a player being, really annoyed, being substituted off. But we know his quality, and he's probably being protected, ready for Saturday.
Yeah. And obviously the front two was the same again, Ross Stewart and Ellis Sims, starting with Ellis Sims. Michael once again proved a handful for the Sheffield United defence, but obviously didn't get his reward for it today. Well, yesterday.
Yeah.
Last night even.
Yeah. We've mispronounced a few things here, haven't we? Ellis Sims, I thought was maybe I'm being generous, but I'll go with a 7. I actually thought that at some point in the first half, especially 11v11, I thought his strength was excellent. I thought he held his man off really well. Got down the byline once or twice, just didn't come off for it. And then obviously again, when you go down to 10 men, it's harder to import. To be fair, Alex Neely actually did leave both of them on the pitch for a sustained period of time before he took Sims off. Actually, no, I'll change it. I'll probably go with a 6. I think with it, like you said, held the ball up well, got past his man a couple of times. I thought they looked nervous, and it's not. By the way, just to point out, I think I've seen a few Sheffield United fans saying that Sunderland's front two, Stewart and SAS, is actually quite a handful. Michael Beale said it as well. So 6, but maybe that's just because he scored in the first 2 games and didn't in this one.
Yeah, that is fair enough, John.
I'll probably go with a 6. Again, maybe I wanted to see just a little bit more from him. But once we're down to 10 men, the service is going to be limited. But again, it's nothing to really worry about. I'm probably frustrated as well that Gooch's cross, he doesn't really sort of anywhere near getting on the end of it. But not nothing too critical.
Yeah. Obviously, last but not least, Ross Stewart. Usual performance from him again, I would say. Michael held the ball up, linked the play well, but again, just didn't quite get his reward. I think he did hit the bar once from a cross that ended up in a Sheffield United free kick, which had that ball gone in, I'd have been fuming because it was definitely not a foul, but it didn't, so it didn't really matter in the end. But usual performance, worked hard throughout.
Yeah, he did. For Stewart, actually probably would go with a 7 because the key difference is that he got an assist. He got the assist for Lyndon Gooch's goal, let's just say, I mean, again, I think you've just pretty much described what he did in the game. So all I'll say is, I think if we're able to get with Stewart and Sims again up top on Saturday, Stokes fans, I'd imagine, aren't quite enamoured with Michael O'Neill. So I think if you get SAS up there up front, I think they'll cause Stoke quite a few problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, John.
I'll go over 7. Like Mark said, got the assist. Great vision. I think he was tireless in. It's quite a tough job up there. On your own at times, and look lively and bright, sort of. Early on. But yeah, hopefully he's good to go and on fire on Saturday.
Yeah. Moving on, like we say, it is Stoke away on Saturday. It's not a cold Tuesday night. Instead, I think it's forecast to be a fairly warm Saturday afternoon for Stoke standard.
That is not what you associate with Stoke. I'm sorry.
It's not. I'm pretty sure. I actually checked the forecast in Stoke on Saturday, and I'm fairly sure it was meant to be a slightly warmer day there for them. But before I check that, score predictions for that game, Michael?
This is one of those games where I wouldn't be shocked whatever the result is. I wouldn't be shocked if we get beat because Stoke have some good players, namely Dwight Gale up front, but they have good players behind them. I also wouldn't be shocked if we win because, again, I think like what teams try to do to us, especially in League One, was when you come up here, keep the crowd quiet and then try to impose yourself on the game later or to spring surprises later. I think we should be looking to do that in this game, turn the crowd against Stoke, and we could possibly get a win. But I do think it'll be a 1-1 draw, which I think we need to get something out of this game, really. If we get a draw, I wouldn't be complaining too much, but a win would obviously be, I think we could get a win if we really did it well enough.
Yeah. And John, for you?
I'll take a 2-0 win. I'll take Sims and Stewart goal each. Nice clean sheet, finally. And I'm going to it. So, yeah, it should be a good day in the sun.
Same here, John. I might see you down there.
I shall see you there.
It is. Just checked that it's forecast to be highs of 22 degrees on Saturday.
Is there what chance is there of rain?
0, apparently.
That is still not Stoke.
Knowing us, it'll probably snow.
Possible.
Yeah, well, according to this, it says sunny intervals and a moderate breeze. Okay.
It's never Stoke, though, a bit of wind, is it?
No, definitely. Oh, no, I'll tell you what, the way the weather's been the last couple of weeks, I think any sort of wind is going to be great in a minute.
Yeah. Well, as we've said pretty much every time we've recorded a podcast, who knows what can happen between now and that game. Obviously, there's still, I think it's 12, maybe 13 days left of the transfer window. Sunderland still have business to be done, certainly. Whether any of that is done between now and Saturday, I would argue is unlikely, but nevertheless possible. Obviously, the Costa Rican winger, Jewison Bennett, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. That is allegedly done, as far as what was said yesterday. Still not to be confirmed, and isn't due to be confirmed anytime today either. So I'm not sure what the hold up is with that, but we'll see if anyone else is in the door between now and then. We'll have a preview out for that game, hopefully on Friday at some point, of course, as we always do. On Sunday, we will be back to talk about the game, go through the player ratings, and probably slander the referee, because we always tend to do that.
It wouldn't be an EFL podcast without one, would it?
It wouldn't. I still think we'll do listen to Premier League next year, to be fair, when we get there, but hey, we've got 10 months to worry about that. But we'll be back tomorrow with a preview, and like I said, back on Sunday to talk about the Stoke game. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.